And I know we're a little behind schedule, so I'm going to kind of turn this into a pachacucha and move as fast as I can through the content here. So I'm going to cover three questions very briefly, very briskly. What are taxonomists doing today? How can new technologies help? And what tools are there out there to help you succeed? So what is it that we do, we taxonomists? We organize, we categorize, and we discover. Organization is the organization of knowledge using unambiguously defined enterprise terminology, and then putting that into schemes that help it represent the structure of knowledge, the structure of a domain, our processes, and the things that we care about. After that comes categorization. When we categorize content, we use the semantics of our taxonomies and our contextualization rules to determine meaning and rank the relevance of content. But our job isn't finished with creating knowledge organization systems and categorizing content. We have to then work with the search teams and the information architects to let all of that enrichment manifest itself through the end user experiences, through discovery experiences. It's the last stage. So the first question, what are taxonomists doing today? I'm running an open survey. Anyone can participate. You can link to it from a pinned tweet on my blog. And I've got 10 sections of that. I'm just going to skip straight through those and give you a little highlight summary at the end. But this information's in the deck. So if you're interested in some of the data that's coming out from this survey, you'll be able to follow through. Let me just skip through all these questions. Okay, some highlights I will reference. Not surprisingly, a large majority of people are using their taxonomy to build traditional, they're doing traditional taxonomy development, traditional thesaurus development. A small percent, but actually bigger than I expected, are doing machine reasoning. So they're getting into some of the more AI-based applications. We've got an even mix of people doing very broad level, what I call broad bucket categorization, and some people who are doing very granular subject-specific indexing. Most people are tagging at the document level. A few are tagging right down into the content. So they take you to the very spot in a document where something is being discussed, a concept is being discussed. We work with a lot of academic publishing companies, and those are really the people who drive that very, very granular indexing. What tech do people think will impact them the most? The answers were AI and linked data as the two very significantly highest ranked expectations of what's going to impact. But there is currently low adoption, only about 10%, of ontologies and graph technologies. And these are the enabler of AI, so there's a gap to be filled there. Passing note, there was also a low adoption of schema.org, despite the fact that this is key to raising SEO of your public-facing content. The big surprise for me was that there was a majority of tagging is still human. It's not automated. And the highest mentioned aspiration was for better quality auto-categorization tools. Section 2, question 2, how can technology help? This little cartoon is in here because it made me chuckle anyway. I am this guy. I spent the summer doing work with Oxford University on their blockchain strategy program, and I'm bouncing around with enthusiasm for blockchain. I'm not going to talk about blockchain in this, but I will be in the future because I think it's going to impact what we do very much. I'm going to focus on AI, ontologies, and linked data. So AI, I've got some anecdotal things to look at. First, Taxonomy Bootcamp also has a counterpart conference that's held in London by Information Today. It's in October. The keynote there was Paul Risen from Springer, and he set the tone, I think, for some expectation setting, which is machine learning and AI isn't a silver bullet. And in fact, while it hogs the limelight, the work that taxonomists are quietly doing in the background is actually revolutionizing how we navigate information, discover information. So that's a comment from Paul. A few other comments from people in our community, many of whom are here today. Zach Wall from Enterprise Knowledge notes that in the companies that they deal with, the expectations are not being met with AI technologies. There's a promise, and the demos look really good, but the reality after those demos is leaving a big gap. Andreas from Pool Party notes that the generation of mainstream, generation and maintenance of taxonomies and ontologies will always remain the realm of human beings. And Heather Hedden, author of The Accidental Taxonomist, was recently interviewed by Synaptica Insights, and we asked her, what do you think is the biggest challenge in the future? And Heather is pointing again to the growing interest in AI and machine learning is actually impacting what we're doing in indexing and tagging, because there are limits on what that automatic technology can do. Now, I'm not in any way doom and gloom about AI, but we need to manage our expectations, and beyond that, we need to understand that AI is a very broad concept. There are a lot of different types of AI, and some of them are suited to different business cases. There's a really cool interactive online guide, so this is going to be in the slide deck that you can download. It's from McKinsey, and you can explore the different technologies and find out which types of business application that technology is suited to. So in summary on AI, my takeaway is it is very relevant to what we do, but it will not replace the need for human-curated taxonomies or ontologies. I actually would turn it on its head. When you talk to management and when you talk to leadership in your organization, the message to get across is that taxonomies and ontologies are going to be the enabler of AI. It's not the other way around, that AI is going to sweep the need for taxonomy and ontology away. So, do you need ontology? It depends on the type of problem you're trying to solve. This is an analogy. Taxonomy is a top-down way of organizing information, and it's great for classifying knowledge, great for building browse interactions. Now try modeling that to the Washington Metro as a taxonomy. You can't do it, it won't work. Because the Metro is a graph, naturally, and graphs and ontologies are graphs, naturally. They support a different kind of experience, where there are multiple points of entry, multiple pathways and multiple destinations. It's a very different paradigm for designing your information architecture. And if that is suitable for you, then maybe you need to be looking at ontologies. We found that there's a lot of confusion between where does ontology end and taxonomy begin, or the other way around. There's a big gray area. I created this little jigsaw puzzle model as a way of getting my own head around it. And I think if you try and, if you look at this and try and distinguish the difference between property vocabularies, aka ontologies, and value vocabularies, aka terminologies, taxonomy, it actually makes sense. It actually fits together. And we take a holistic approach that, in fact, you use ontology to build taxonomy. Linked data. So linked open data, we know of, is this huge cloud of public domain ontologies and taxonomies that's growing all the time, and it is. But we're encouraging everybody to think about doing linked enterprise data and not to get confused by the openness. Enterprises can benefit from adopting the data model of linked data, even if all of their data is behind the firewall and not open. So summaries about ontology and linked data. Ontologies and linked data will help you to build smart applications, smart search and discovery applications, reduce the costs and speed up project deliverables and simplify systems integrations. Tools. So what tools do you need? There are tools for organizing, categorizing, and discovering. And the universal thing about these is that they are there to make your life easier, and they need to simplify the complexity. So some things to look for in taxonomy management systems. Of course, drag and drop editability, collaboration and governance, management reports, But one of the things we also would stress is the ability to switch seamlessly between doing taxonomy and doing categorization rules, because these are coextensive. The one is dependent on the other and needs to feed back constantly to the other. We have a whole list of features about taxonomy systems you can check out. What to look for in ontology systems: an extensible set of public domain ontologies. Being able to pull in from the cloud things that fit your knowledge domain is really important. The ability to then design your schemes using the stuff that you pull in from the outside world. And the most important thing is, this is really complex stuff. When we send our engineers off to Stanford or different places to dive deep into this, they come back and say, this is difficult. And I say, great. Now make it easy for our users. Create the tools, create the simplification layer on top that is going to help them to not have the pain that you're going through. Categorization and text analytics. Only 2 slides, Jane, so I'm really blasting through this. So categorization rules, big thing for us is no black box. People need to know how a categorizer is doing what it does. It's no use saying, well, it's magic and it really does a good job. You want to see how it does it, and you want to interact with that real time. And so we have this emphasis on seamless integration between taxonomy and the categorization workflow, and a no silo approach basically to those applications. Search and discovery, use NLP to make the interface, the query interface, conversational, to make it more accessible for everybody. There's great tools for doing this. But then really, really work with the search team to make sure they are tapping into the knowledge graph, tapping into the taxonomies and the semantics to make that search precise and inclusive and recommend related content. And lastly, with information architects, work with them to pull this stuff back into the interface, make it manifest. It really helps people to refine their queries, to navigate, to discover. So bringing all that back into your information architecture is terribly important. Software tools, they're here to help you. They must simplify the complex process. They must use industry standards, of course, but their primary job is to help you become experts without having to learn esoteric code. And search needs to take advantage of all of the semantics of your knowledge graphs and your taxonomies. So those are my main tools takeaways, and that's the end of the talk. Thank you, Jane.